Brodes Media.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. I call this disturbing baseball. I know they split and they won game 2 and they found a way, but game 1 was so damaging and so disgusting that I truly can't be happy and excited with the brand of baseball that I saw. I mean, it's just a joke. You wasted a beautiful performance, a historic effort out of Nola, which I feel like we haven't seen in so damn long. He struck out 10 consecutive batters. Listen to these numbers as well. And by the way, he started off the game by hitting their leadoff guy and Francisco Lindor getting a double. So it was second and third with 0 outs. And from that moment, he just showed his dominance. Now, he had 7 swinging strikeouts, 3 strikeouts looking, and 1 was a four-seamer, 3 were sinkers, 4 was curveballs, and 2 were changeups. You saw the use of the curveball. It was dipping. It was getting guys swinging. I mean, it was just a masterful performance out of Nola and what he was doing with the repertoire. When I was looking through the pitches that he was throwing and the way that they were being located and the sequence of those pitches as well, it reminded me of what we've seen out of Zach Wheeler majority of the time this season, where you go, yep, there's that four-seamer, yep, there's that sinker, yep, there's that curveball, yep, there's that changeup that he just sprinkles in there. When it comes to Zach Wheeler, you look at the repertoire and he's so dialed in most of the time. With Nola, it really did remind me of that. Bang, 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 sit your ass down. Bang, 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 sit your ass down. Bang, 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 sit your fucking ass down. He was just putting them away at will. Unfortunately, Pete Alonso ruined all the fun with the double down the right field side there, which I was looking for him to break history. He tied history with 10 consecutive. He was so close to breaking it, becoming the solo guy with 11 consecutive strikeouts, but damn it, Pete Alonso. So Nola ended up after 5 1/3 striking out 12 batters, and he truly was sensational. A lot of fun. He did it on both sides of the plate, may I add. He had 2 hits. We thought he had his first home run, but okay, whatever. You did it. Second hit of the day, bang, RBI double. So when I tell you that Nola was on another level and he was locked in, and let's throw this out there. You did it on the road. You did it away from Citizens Bank Park. He struggles when he's not in his home atmosphere. He doesn't do as well. That's for damn sure. And on top of that, his first inning ERA has been abysmal. It got murky. It got ugly. It seemed like there was a black cloud following him in that first inning after the first 2 batters. But after that, he dialed in and he was in cruise control. It's just very unfortunate that you go to a new bullpen late, and your bullpen late becomes a laughing joke. In both of these games, it's so ironic that Hector Neris closed the door and was able to complete the job in that second game. I know we'll get to that as we continue the conversation. And by the way, speaking of that second game, I thought that there was a hilarious statement made. Actually, 2 people. It was 2 people, Joe Girardi and Matt Moore. They just made laughable statements post-game, which basically summarizes where this baseball team is. Now, in game 1, Alec Bohm had a horrendous play at third base, couldn't make a simple fly ball catch in the infield. He's a joke. He is a problem, and when it comes to defensive liability, you're talking about he is the worst in the entire league, and I'm not even making that up. There are statistics to support that he is a full-on disaster in that spot at third base, and it's just unreal. You can't make it up. That's the quote that has been thrown around all damn series long so far to this point, and not just this series, since we've been watching this team struggle for however long they've been struggling. You can't make this up with all this self-inflicted wounds. So let's get to the bottom of the 6th inning in game 1. Well, when Alvarado had bases loaded with 1 out, he gets McCann striking out on some cutters, and he had a couple strikeouts in that first outing. But the cutters, he was confused as hell, and Alvarado gets out of that jam. I was very surprised. You know him. He's all over the place when you have bases loaded, even though he has been better as of late. If you think about Alvarado, bases loaded, 6th inning in a 7-inning doubleheader, you would think, uh-oh, here we go again. He got out of that moment, but when we talk about the 7th inning, that was not the case. The Phils had a chance to tack on some run support in that 7th inning. Of course, they don't, and it's a 1-0 game headed into that final frame, and Alvarado goes back out there. I was questioning if that was the best move. I know they made it clear that Alvarado was going to be the guy, but they also mentioned it's possible if he is needed in a late inning spot that isn't necessarily closing, that's still on the table. So after a high-pressured 6th, I was a little concerned for throwing him back out there for the 7th. They did, and what do you know? It ends up where there's a poor throw from Alvarado to Rhys Hoskins on a simple play, but Rhys Hoskins has to make that catch. It was not a perfect throw. It was a high throw. Major League Baseball players at first base, they make that. And ironically enough, he lost it in the sun, and he had sunglasses on the top of his damn hat. Now, if you want to blame Alvarado first, I can't support that because a major league first baseman needs to be able to stretch and do it. But here's the defining moment for me. When you go back and watch the replay, you can see Rhys Hoskins' reaction instantly. His initial instant reaction, his body took over, and he was frustrated with himself there because he knew that that's a ball while it was not a throw that was right in the chest. And I know that that's not ideal. But I'm telling you that a major league first baseman makes that catch 100 out of 100 times. And when Bo made that mistake in the 5th inning, I tweeted out, taking a shot at Rhys Hoskins before I even knew it was going to happen, just because I've watched plenty of Rhys Hoskins in the field to know that he has no idea what he's doing out there. You cannot win. You cannot survive when Rhys Hoskins and Alec Bohm are your two corner defenders. It's a laughing stock, and it's a nightmare. And when we talk about why is this team so shitty? Why does this team constantly shoot themselves in the foot? Why does this team give opposing squads extra outs? Well, it starts with those two guys. Those two guys are absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. And they played a big part in what the debacle was throughout both games today. I feel like, look, we watched extra innings, but it wasn't really extra innings because it was only 8 innings, not a full game. But because it was the doubleheader, it's extra innings because they're 7-inning games. But I feel that I just sat through, 3 weeks worth of baseball, and it was 2 games, and not even 2 legitimate full games. But based off of the drama, based off of the nonsense, based off of the poor play, and just the disgraceful way that this team plays the sport, it feels like I just sat through 90 games. I sat through 2. I sat through 1.75, really. Ridiculous. Here's where I have an issue with Joe Girardi, because in that 7th inning, they ended up pitching to Francisco Lindor. That's a lefty-righty matchup with Conforto coming up on the dish after Lindor, and Lindor ties the baseball game up off of Alvarado. What are we doing? This is baseball 101. I just talked about the simple plays that these infielders constantly mess up on. Well, how many times now have we discussed Joe Girardi coming up with a horrendous plan or just a simple managerial move that 100 out of 100 managers normally can push the right button in that moment? Joe Girardi seems to go in the other direction, which is just as much of a basic issue as not catching a pop fly and not catching a ball that's a little high for you at first base. When you pitch to Lindor lefty-righty, I'm sitting there watching, go, what are we doing? How much of a joke are we? In what universe is this the route that we think is best for this team? There goes Francisco Lindor. What ends up happening? Ranger Suarez comes in after Alvarado loses the lead. It's now tied, and Conforto ends up grounding out, and the rest is history. Well, we knew that you could have maybe got Conforto out better than you could have got Francisco Lindor out with that matchup, yet here you are. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to say you're overthinking, but I almost feel like you're not thinking enough. you're not using your brain enough. It's not overthinking, because I think you can use that phrase when you're trying too much and you're doing this switch and you're doing that switch and you're overthinking the process for an out. This time, I felt like he wasn't using his brain at all. It's like we got to find a middle ground here, Joe. That's basic baseball. Basic baseball is what hurts this team the most. And that's why it's so hard to swallow. And that's why this team feels like it's taking years off of my actual life, because it's baseball 101 mistakes that is crucifying this team, and they just continue to drop in these standings. They really do. So basically, that's how it went down. Suarez went back out for the 8th inning. Dominic Smith, of all people. And there was a time where you had Dominic Smith versus Alvarado, and you just wondered if there was going to be any more craziness involved, any more heated at-bats, but that was not the case. But Dominic Smith, he's a Phillies killer. He finds ways to grind our gears and get big hits and do a lot of damage against us. Well, there was another day at the office where he ends up getting the walk-off and the Phillies blow it, and it was such a horrible feeling waiting in between games. And then we move on to that Game 2 win, which they did win a baseball game, and Bryce Harper came up clutch in 0-2 count, and he hit an absolute bomb. Another solo shot, by the way, which it seems like it's the only thing Bryce Harper does. That's really more of a testament to what's going on in front of him. We go back to now having some problems with the leadoff spot, and I do think that it's a little aggressive, the hate towards Odubel right now, because, one, it's similar to Rhys Hoskins. When you see Rhys Hoskins go 0 for 30, 0 for 31, 0 for 32, 0 for 33, you know at some point he's going to turn it around. We've seen enough Odubel Herrera where he started off the season poorly, he went on this amazing ride, and his batting average went from somewhere in the .05 range to all the way up to a reasonable 200 number at the, 270 plus in that range. And now it's starting to dip again, but that's Odubel Herrera. We've seen Odubel Herrera so much already, we should know, and this is what I can't get behind. I can't believe he's playing in Game 2. I can't believe he's playing again. He stinks. You want Adam Hazley? He fucking blows. You want Mickey Moniak? He's arguably the worst first overall pick in the history of baseball. What else you want? Who do you want? You want to go through the Roman Quinns of the world? There's no options here, people. So let's relax. Let's calm down. I get it. It's not the greatest in the world. He ended up getting an RBI in this victory. Now, as much as the Phillies had their own issues on the defensive side of the diamond, in the 8th inning, there was a bobble there over at third base, Guillorme, which scored the Phillies' game-winning run, and Odubel Herrera put the ball in play in that moment. But I just feel, if you think about the alternatives here, let's stop bitching and complaining about Odubel in terms of we need change. You can demand more out of him and say you got to produce better, or maybe you try something different in the leadoff spot. I don't know how many options you really have. Maybe you try McCutchen there again, although he's been playing better baseball as of late, and I think a lot of that has to do with maybe not being in the leadoff spot. I don't know what the answer is to try and spark something at the top of the lineup, but I will say this Odubel has to go, and we have to change Odubel in the field. No, you don't. You have no other options. That's why we're screaming about this team the way that we scream about this team. But getting back to Bryce Harper, he put the team on his back in a game where they really needed it. Andrew McCutchen, though, speaking of his offensive production, he had an unbelievable catch early in the game where, did you see Matt Moore's face? Matt Moore was jumping up and down like he was 4 years old on the damn trampoline with excitement. His face, huge smile. Now, the Mets were trying to claim that the ball hit the wall, and then I saw a lot of Mets fans on Twitter saying, look at the dent on the wall. I watched that replay maybe 9,000 times, and I have no idea what the hell Mets fans are looking at, but that was a catch. An easy-ass catch, basic, not an easy catch in terms of actually making the play, but in terms of watching the replay and recognizing that it hit his glove and he caught the baseball fair and square, if you will. I have no idea why we're even having that debate. That was a beautiful catch by Andrew McCutchen and game-changing in the early stages. Matt Moore, he went 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 walk, 2 Ks, and he had some. Him and Joe Girardi just on the wrong page here. Let's go to, I saw the quotes on Twitter. So this is what went down. It was a nice outing for Matt Moore. You don't really know what he is at this point, and I know he's not an actual starter for your rotation. I do know that because he is a joke and not a very good pitcher, but I don't know what his role really is on this team, and apparently neither does Joe Girardi. So I'm trying to pull up the actual tweet here. Here you go. So she covers the Phillies. She tweeted out a quote afterwards. This is Destiny Lugardo. Girardi would ask about Matt Moore's role. I don't know. I haven't really had a whole time to think about it. Here's Matt Moore when asked the same question. Kind of figured I'm a rotation, right? I went to AAA, building up as a starter. As far as I know, that's the plan. What? So you're telling me the manager thinks of this guy as, which is the right way to think, may I add, what is this guy? I don't know. I have no idea. I really have no idea where we're going to utilize him in the future, and I don't know where he stands. Well, Matt Moore thinks he's battling and finding his way with this journey back into the starting rotation. No, you're not. You stink. You absolutely stink, and if he does, it's just telling you how much of a pathetic franchise we really have. So I guess I can't rule it out because it probably is realistic that he ends up starting another game because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it be the case? And even in a 7-inning game, it doesn't feel like a realistic good plan, but I can at least understand it. I got a bad gut feeling that he's probably going to get another nod at some point, and I'm going to hate my life when I have to sit through it. Just horrible. And I hate hearing the franchise talk like this because, while it's not surprising and it's not anything new and it's not anything that should blow our minds, but when you hear that, it doesn't feel great. When you hear this, it's as if everyone's all on different pages and nobody's communicating, and it shows out on the field. Like I said, this isn't breaking news to me, and all of a sudden I'm so stunned and I don't know how to operate. No. This organization is a nightmare for a reason. This is pretty damn clear. I just don't want to hear it, though. That's the difference. So you go to your bullpen, okay? Alec Bohm, when Archie Bradley's in the game, late, ends up having a crucial mistake. Can't make a simple play with a ground ball. And the Phillies, with a 1-0 lead, end up losing the lead. Shocker. So I tried telling everybody when Hector Neris got yanked, stop acting as if there's 9 billion options that work. Archie Bradley blows a lot of stuff. Sam Coonrod blows a lot of stuff. Jose Alvarado blows a lot of stuff. Now, yeah, there were some problems defensively, but let's not act as if when Hector Neris has been on the mound that there's been no problems in the field. He had to deal with it just like these other pitchers had to deal with it, and Hector Neris comes in and closes the door in that final frame in the 8th inning. And I'll tell you what, I still think Hector Neris is your best option. I really do believe that. I think Hector Neris is your best option. Now, that doesn't mean you're in a good spot. That tells you you're not in a good spot. There's a reason why the Phillies have blown as many saves as they've blown. Now, I want to go deeper and dive in a little bit more with the research. How many of these blown saves comes with the man on second base with 0 outs? So when you had the lead, it ends up technically being a save opportunity that was missed. Is that in play? How much is that in play compared to other teams and where they're at in those situations? Because if the Phillies are in those situations more and those are counting against them, well, then, it's not the same as having a clean inning and blowing the lead. And as brutal as last year was, now the problem is you can get through until a closer needs to step up. Last year, you couldn't even get to that spot. You couldn't really get to the spot where you had the lead in the final inning, and then you blew it. You would blow the lead in the 6th, and then you'd blow the lead in the 7th, and then you get the lead back and blow it in the 8th, and then you would blow it almost basically every single damn time. Now it seems like you're just getting to that final inning, and what do you know? Here comes a big bomb dropped on the team, and they just fail miserably. So I find it ironic that at the end of all this, Hector Neris he ends up getting that save chance and he does it. But Joe Girardi did confirm that they're going to continue to try Alvarado in that spot, and he's probably one of the last options I would go with because of how erratic he is, and while he throws very hard, he's all over the place. And I know recently it's been okay, but it's not something that makes me feel very good whatsoever. What makes me feel good is DraftKings Sportsbook. Not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on any basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code Brodes for a limited time. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Wager paid out inside credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the offense absolutely sucked once again. In game one, you get Aaron Nola producing 2 of your hits and getting you that RBI to give you the lead that you were trying to hold on to. And then in game 2, Marshawn was the one that created the most offense. And then after that, it was basically your Bryce Harper 0-2 bomb off of Peterson. But it's just crazy that this team, I know that 13-12 loss was very frustrating, but this offense has been so damaging, just as damaging as the other areas with this team. And if you want to go through it, poor defense, bad bullpen deep into games, not getting timely hits. Let me know what baseball team has a lot of solid production when those are your issues, specifically defensively. I mean, that is just brutal. It's so deflating. And I feel now the team just doesn't have trust in one another. When Alec Bohm is out there, you're going to have to start making defensive adjustments, and you're going to start to taking him out of the game. It comes back to, everything always seems to come back to Ben Simmons, huh? When Ben Simmons is such a problem in one area of the floor, you have to take him out in late game situations, which can hurt you later on if things do go wrong, and now one of your guys is out of the game. So when Ben Simmons is out there, you have to take him off the floor because his offense is so poor. Then Tobias Harris turns the ball over, and now you have a possession defensively without Ben Simmons. That could be the same exact thing that ends up happening with Alec Bohm. You have to take him off the field. He's not at third base. His bat has been really solid. I know as of before today started, he was hitting .371 in the month of June. So he's been tearing the cover off the ball. You're going to have to start actually taking him out of the game. And what happens if the game does continue and there is something where there's another blown save, and now you have Alec Bohm out of the game, and he could have had that bat in the game, and that can change the whole dynamic of the outcome, considering he has put together a really strong month for you, and he has woken up a bit on that on the offensive side of the dish. But, this team, when he ends up making 2 crucial mistakes today, it's every single night, every game. You rely on, you don't rely on it, but I guess you just expect it. Expect is the right word. You expect the Alec Bohm problem to, at some point, hurt you and affect your entire team in a game, and it just can't continue to happen. It's not a way to win baseball games. All right, let's run on over to the Anytime Hotline and hear what you had to say after today's games.
Alec Bohm. I mean, little leaguers make these plays. The Phillies are honestly 3-4 players away from being a contending team. How many games has Alec Bohm lost for them? How many games has Hector Neris lost for him? How many games has David Hale lost for him? How many games has Reese lost with his defensive play? Now, thankfully, he's heating up, but I mean, you have a decent player at third, a decent closer, another decent defender, and this team is 6-7 games above 500. I mean, how many games has Alec Bohm cost us and Hector Neris? It's unbelievable. I mean, you can't even get mad anymore. It's just, it's sure as the sun rises, and the Phillies are going to blow the game and find a new way to lose.
That is the crazy part about it. They do lose in these demoralizing ways, and it's always something dramatic, and it's always something so laughable due to pain. But I will say, when you talk about, if you get a new third baseman, a new closer, a new first baseman, a new this, that's a lot of pieces. That's a lot of pieces. And think about, you can't just, with Rhys Hoskins, You move on from that type of production offensively to the team that I already mentioned struggles and can't get those timely hits. If you just replace him because he's poor defensively in the field, you do lose a lot of your already limited offense, and same with what's happening at third base as of the month of June. Now, I know he struggled previously, but my point is, you talk about getting all of these new pieces. That's major changes to your franchise. That's not something that's very little or like you're only 4 pieces away. Like, that's big. That's actually very large. Think about what they did this offseason. They brought in JT Realmuto. They brought him back. They brought back Didi Gregorius. Those were 2 very crucial moves, and you looked at that as something to stabilize. Well, we thought. I mean, foolish on us. I know we haven't seen Didi Gregorius based off of the injuries, but, like, you looked at that as like, that's crucial. That's very big. That's 2 pieces. 4 pieces, we're getting a shutdown closer, which, by the way, how many shutdown elite closers are there in the sport of baseball? It's not like every team has one, so they're not easy to get. They are rare to find, and some guys have great years, bad years, great years, bad years. It's hard to be extremely consistent, but that proves my point even more, to act as if you can just look around and start plucking some elite closer to fill in for Hector Neris. It's not that simple, and as you saw, you can't just throw anybody in there. Archie Bradley, who can work in late moments, could not get the job done. Bad defense, but could not get the job done. Hector Neris has had struggles with poor play on his own at times, but also with bad defense behind him too. It's not just Archie Bradley. Alvarado couldn't do it. Ranger Suarez couldn't do it. These guys could not do it. It's not simple. So I'm with you. I get the frustration and all, and, well, if you fix this, that, and that, I'm with you. If you fix this, that, and that, I'm with you. But that's a lot of this, that, and that you're trying to fix, and that's kind of the problem. And as Bryce alluded to before, you don't have a farm system here. You don't have these prospects that you can just start trading to acquire all this great talent. And that was sort of a hot storyline over the last week or so, trying to push its ugly head throughout the Sixers topics too. But it was Bryce Harper in the right or in the wrong for making those comments about where this franchise is, and I don't have a problem with it. I know it's not the greatest look in the world for your $330 million man to basically say your system stinks and all these prospects that are down below have no, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm just taking the message, whether he meant it this way or not, the way he was talking about it, basically alluded to, you have nothing in the system and all these prospects that are down there stink, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I get why it's probably not the best look in the world to say that, but he's not wrong. This franchise needs to be held accountable for all the poor players that they drafted. Adam Hazley stinks. Mickey Moniak stinks. These players all stink, and now you're in a really tough spot. Bryce is not wrong for making those statements, and I personally don't really have an issue with it, but I know that there are some Philly fans that think that it's wrong and it shouldn't be how it is. But I really don't have a problem with it. I got a lot more problems with this franchise other than Bryce Harper keeping it 100. And maybe John Middleton will listen if it comes from his mouth. Yo, do something different, because this isn't working. How about that, John?
What's up, Hunter? The Phillies beat the Mets in the second game on the doubleheader, 2-1. The first game they lost 2-1. This game they won 2-1. Well, the first game it was messy. Nola was terrific. He was an ace. I mean, I hate saying ace, but he was fantastic. He tied Tom Seaver and everything. He was great, but the bullpen blew it and lots of errors. Second game, Matt Moore was fantastic. In left field, Andrew McCutcheon made that rob of Albert Almora. That was a great play. And they scored 2 runs and won an extra inning. And Hector Neris got the job done. So, good split by the Phillies, and tomorrow's not going to be easy.
Yeah, you think Jacob deGrom is on the mound tomorrow? Now, how funny would it be if that's a game that they win? They lose with Nola putting on a historic display. They win with Matt Moore, and then they somehow beat Jacob deGrom. Now, do you really think that I believe that that's going to happen? Absolutely fucking not. Let's take a look at my DraftKings Sportsbook and see what we actually have. I'm curious what the line is right now for that game and for that matchup, because deGrom is just on another level. He's a robot. He's definitely not a human being. That's for damn sure. What he does is absolutely outrageous. Okay, let's go to tomorrow. Is it going to? Okay, yes. So Zach Eflin versus DeGrom. The Mets are minus 275. Minus 275. So just to put that into a little bit of context, and if I go to, they don't have player props up right now at this very second. It does not look like they have player props for me at this very second. It is the night before, so I understand. But yeah, it does not look like that's the case. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. You know, you think that this Phillies lineup struggles normally, and they struggle against random Joe Smiths of the world, and Bob, what's another standard last name? Johnson. Bob Johnson's out there. They're struggling to hit off those players. Yet I'm gonna feel good about Jacob deGrom versus Zach Eflin. There's no way in hell. So that's basically where we're at. We're watching a team where they win at the end, and maybe you feel better about it. Maybe it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. But ultimately, if I'm being 100% honest with myself, I'm more disgusted with Game 1 than I am proud of their Game 2 efforts, because you saw the same thing. You cannot survive if you're going to be playing on the edge that aggressively, game in and game out, blowing leads and having to fight back and this and that. It's not sustainable. So before you know it, it's going to be July. It's going to be early July, and basically this season is going to be halfway through, more than halfway through, and you're going to be a team looking 5, 6, 7, 8 games out of first place, and it's going to be really brutal. So, you know, it's just inevitable. It really is. It's inevitable when you watch this team, and now we're getting to the territory of, you know, the bottled up annoyance watching the Phillies play. So they went from their historic run, that fun 07, 2012, that entire, 5-year run of fun. And then, since then, 2013, 2014, 2015, you knew it was going to be miserable and there'd be rebuilding. But now we're hitting that level of, okay, this is getting absolutely ridiculous. This is putrid, and things need to seriously fucking change because it's unfair for the city. Now, when you're watching this, and, I mean, it really is. Let's be realistic. It's an unwatchable way to play the game of baseball. So now, it's really starting to hit a point where John Middleton's going to hear it, and it's going to get intense, and it's going to get brutal, and it's going to get loud, and he's going to hear it. He just is. He's going to hear it. It's now getting to the ridiculous stage, and I'm here for it because I need the owner to understand that this is unacceptable, the product that we constantly get. And until you change something major, because you're the common denominator, nothing's going to go. Nothing's going to go here. We're going to be having the same problems. So John Middleton needs to realize, and we got to be harder on them. It always gets sandwiched in between Sixers and Eagles. By the time their collapse happens, Eagles are ready for training camp, and we're no longer talking about the Phillies. We got to pound them in these moments where they're the only team that's truly available and in the conversation. So now that we had the week with the Sixers, they're still going to be here, don't get me wrong, because it was so damaging. But at the same time, we got to let Middleton hear it. We got to be loud, and we got to let our frustration be heard, because that's how you get change. That and not going to games, which clearly has already started to impact John Middleton, because you see 15, 14,000 people when the stadiums can finally be available to the public again after a pandemic and no fans for a whole year. You're clearly not selling anything worthy, or else that thing would be packed like I see San Diego packed every night watching the Padres, and I'm extremely jealous. There's so much of me and jealous of watching the Padres play every night. Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer, and you name it. It's a fun-ass team. Disappointed. That's what I am. I'm disappointed. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.